Ребята, всем привет! Добро пожаловать на мой канал. Меня зовут Ксения. Не забывайте не подписаться, чтобы не пропускать интересные видео, которые выходят здесь каждый день. А сегодня вас приветствую в первой части второго дня моего путешествия в город Селем, штат Массачусетс. Это будет немножко необычное видео. Я здесь покажу то, что я наснимала втихаря, потому что в доме нельзя было снимать на видео. Поэтому я это делала спустя, чтобы вам было что показать. И на самом деле там будет много интересной истории. Но видео будет полностью на английском языке, за исключением меня, говорящей сейчас. Но я вам хочу рассказать немножечко больше про Дом Семи Фронтонов, какое он занимает историческое место, историческое значение, какое имеет. И, может быть, вы побольше углубитесь в его историю вместе со мной. Дом Семи Фронтонов, также известный как Дом Тернера, колониальный особняк 1688 года в городе Селем, штат Массачусетс, названы так, в принципе, из своей постройки и фронтонов, которых он имеет. Он стал знаменитым благодаря роману Натаниеля Готорна, давайте его называть, в 1851 году. Собственно, роман назывался «Дом Семи Фронтонов». Сейчас дом является некоммерческим музеем, вход на него платный, а также действующим домом-поселением с программами для местного сообщества иммигрантов, включая курсы английского языка, как иностранного и гражданства. Он был построен для капитана Джека Тернера и оставался в его семье на протяжении 3 поколений. А самая ранняя часть Дома Семи Фронтонов была построена в 1668 году для капитана Джека Тернера, богатого морского капитана и торговца, родившегося в Сейлеме, штат Массачусетс, в 1644 году. Тернер частично финансировал постройку дома за счет своего бизнеса по продаже рыбы на арабские владения Вест-Индии, и имущество оставалось в его семье на 3 поколения, на Джека Тернера II и Джека Тернера III, да, особого разнообразия имен там не было. Выходящий на южную сторону гавани Сейлема, изначально это был двухкомнатный, двухэтажный дом с выступающим крыльцом и массивным центральным дымоходом. Эта часть теперь образует середину дома. 4 окна, первоначальные комнаты на 1-м этаже, которая стала столовой, остаются в боковой стене дома. Несколько лет спустя были добавлены кухонная пристройка и новое северное кухонное крыльцо к задней части дома. В 1676 году Тернер добавил просторную южную переднюю постройку с собственной трубой, которая на 1-м этаже находилась гостиной, а над ней большая спальня. Потолки в этом новом крыле были выше, чем потолки в старой части дома. Новое крыло отличалось двойными двустворчатыми окнами с навесом с резными подвесками. А в первой половине 18 века Джек Тернер II перестроил дом в новом гергорианском стиле, боже, это не выговорить, и добавил деревянные панели и раздвижные окна. Эти изменения сохранились, и это очень ранние примеры гергорианского декора. Дом Семи Фронтонов — один из старейших сохранившихся особняков с деревянным каркасом в континентальной Северной Америке. 17 комнатами площадью более 8000 квадратных футов, составляет примерно 700 квадратных метров, включая большие подвалы. С того, как Джек Тернер III обанкротился, дом приобрели Ингерсолы, которые снова его перестроили. Были удалены фронтоны, заменены крыльца и добавлена отделка в георгианском стиле. Натаниель Готорн, родственник Ингерсол, был печально известен своим затворничеством во время своего проживания в Сейлеме, отчасти потому, что сам Готорн преувеличивал свою репутацию. Иногда он играл в вист, например, со своей сестрой Луизой, своей троюродной сестрой Сюзанной Ингерсол и приемным сыном Ингерсолов Горацием Канноли. Готорна иногда в доме развлекала Сюзанна, но ко времени Готорна в доме было только 3 фронтона после реконструкции, чтобы соответствовать более современным представлениям георгианского стиля и архитектурным тенденциям. Его кузен рассказал ему историю дома и показал ему балки и пазы на чердаке, указывающие на расположение бывших фронтонов. Готорн был больше вдохновлен тем, как звучал Дом Семи Фронтонов, чем самим видом в принципе дома. Как он написал в письме, выражение было новым и сильно меня поразило. Я думаю, я что-нибудь из этого смогу сделать. Идея, естественно, вдохновила Готорна на создание романа «Дом Семи Фронтонов». Он также писал о доме, как будто это было живое существо. В романе он писал так: «Внешний вид почтенного особняка всегда производил на меня впечатление как человеческого лица. Он сам был подобен большому человеческому сердцу, живущему собственной жизнью и полному богатых и мрачных воспоминаний. Глубокая проекция секционной истории придавала дому медитативный вид, и вы не могли пройти мимо него без мысли о том, что он хранит тайну». При написании книги Готорн сравнивал этот процесс с строительством настоящего дома. В январе 1855 1991 года он написал своему издателю Джеймсу Филду, что книга почти готова, но ему осталось доделать несколько незначительных деталей и проектов, над которыми он работает. Он отправил готовую рукопись Филдсу к концу месяца, и «Дом Семи Фронтонов» был опубликован в апреле 1851 года. В 1908 году дом был куплен Кэролайн Эмертон, основательницей ассоциации поселения Дома Семи Фронтонов, и она реконструировала его с 1908 по 1910 года, и он был как музей, чьи входные билеты поддерживали реконструкцию, в принципе, самого дома. Бостонский архитектор Джозеф Эвертон Чандлер руководил реконструкцией, которая, среди прочих изменений, реконструировала отсутствующие фронтоны. В некоторых случаях историческая подлинность была пронесена в жертву интересам посетителей, которые ожидали, что дом будет соответствовать тому, который Хотор написал в своем романтическом романе. Так, например, Эвертон добавила магазин центов, который находится прямо на входе в дом, напоминающий тот, которым управляла вымышленная героиня автора Пьюнчон. В саду также был добавлен колодец Маула, который меня, кстати, очень привлек, мне очень понравился. Она также добавила то, что дом выглядит как деревянный шкаф, который имеет фальшивую заднюю стенку. При открытии задняя стенка ведет к секретной лестнице, которая ведет на чердак. Сохранилось множество интересных особенностей оригинального особняка, включая необычные формы изоляции стен, оригинальные балки и стропила, а также обширную гегерианскую обшивку. Место рождения Натаниеля Готорна теперь тоже находится непосредственно рядом с Домом Семи Фронтонов. Доступ к нему представляется либо по обычной входной плате, в которую я использовала, либо по пропуску на территорию. Хотя это действительный дом, в котором Натаниэль родился и прожил до 4 лет. Он изначально находился в нескольких кварталах от него на Юнион-стрит, когда он в нем жил. То есть дом просто взяли и перенесли на новую локацию. 29 марта 2007 года исторический район Дома Семи Фронтонов был объявлен районом национальных исторических достопримечательностей. И по состоянию на 2022 год Дом Семи Фронтонов открылся для публики в апреле 1910 года, и с тех пор его посетило более 1 миллиона людей. Мне кажется, довольно-таки интересная, надеюсь, не очень супер нудная историческая справка. И давайте приступим к самому осмотру дома. Всем приятного просмотра.
Type of cast iron that Captain John Turner wants to acquire from Europe. It's pretty heavy. We have the pot called a chowder. It's about 3 stone weight. Remember, we're not Americans, we're English. So weight is stone weight, which is the equivalent of 14 pounds. You hear it on different shows like Bridgerton or Dairy Girls and others. The old term, I lost a half a stone, I gained 2 stone, something like that. So yeah, a little over 40 pounds. The type of person that would do the labor in my house is our indentured servants. We had a couple of men and a young lady. So you can imagine Joan Sullivan. So she's from Ireland. We know that she's poor. She would have had to pay for passage by ship. She could not afford it. I know, it's sad. And so what's going to happen is that we sign a contract. It's called an indenture. And then servitude of labor is up to 7 years. So you add the heavy utensils, smoke inhalation, and cuts and burns. Right? This isn't a movie. This is real life, real people in the decades before the witch trials. Does anyone have any questions for me about some of the objects or about your life in my house? Yeah, back then. All right, well, let's talk about the other room. Now, we cannot go in, but in a moment you can take turns looking over the door, and if you want to do pictures. That's the scent shop of the mansion, and it was added to the museum. So the shop that you're looking at is not original to the home. That was added by the founder, Miss Emerton. She knew that a lot of people coming to the museum would have read the book ahead of time. Yeah, just kind of watch your step, watch your heads, folks. Wow. Nice. For you folks, I just gotta close this door. Great, King of England, George II. So from the colony in New Hampshire to the colony of Georgia, starting about 300 years ago, this is the type of design that you would see, and we'll see it throughout the tour. Yeah, just be careful, they can't get near the railing. Thanks. I have a daughter, I remember. So it's called the Georgian style. We'll see it throughout the tour. John Turner III is a pretty wealthy man until he is not wealthy. He may be a little bit of a gambler, nepotism, prodigal son, 8 children, mostly daughters. That's expensive. He becomes a loyalist at the beginning of the revolution. So he will lose everything by the end of the revolution. In 1782 at auction, John Turner III loses everything, and a guy named Samuel Ingersoll purchases the home. So again, what I'm going to have you do, I'm going to keep the door open, and I do need you to go to the entryway, just because of the noise. Right, I'll keep it open so you can hear us. Yeah, just for the child, so they can, be down a little bit. Thanks, we appreciate that. Yeah, but I'll keep it open so that way you can hear. Yeah, you can stay right there, ma'am. So, ladies and gentlemen, Samuel Ingersoll, he's going to take over the home in 1782 at auction from the Turner family, and also live here for 3 generations. He's part of this great age of sail. If you've learned about the maritime history in our city, that's the term we use, but the old term is China trade. As with the dishware, this is called Cantonware, and it's named for the port city of Canton, China, what we call Guangzhou, near Hong Kong. And then we have this beautiful painting of Canton on your left. These big items below the paintings are newly acquired. That's to hold silverware. There's a reason we call it silverware. What's on the table? That's real English and Irish silver, a couple hundred years old, if not older. So we got some good stuff. Oh, you're under surveillance. we had something stolen a month ago.
Oh my God.
Yeah, from the China cabinet in the last room. Oh yeah. And then 5 years ago we had books stolen in the Red House. So things happen. Yeah. Well,
That's not nice.
it's not nice. Let's take a look at the lady over here to the right. That's very nice. If the child is good, you guys can come back in if you want. Yeah. This is Susanna. So Susanna here, she is the second generation. She never marries, and she had never married, especially when she inherited the home. Because remember, if she was married, it would have gone into a husband's name, right? English culture becomes American culture. But she had not married. The year is 1811, and she is at the old age of 26. Because remember, if you don't marry by 26 or 27, you are labeled a spinster and an old maid. This is Hawthorne's older second cousin, and she will be the basis for the character Hepzibah Pynchon, the spinster of the book. She also gets involved in real estate, which single women can do. We know that also because she signs every document, Susanna Ingersoll, single woman. She gets involved in mortgages. She has multiple properties in multiple towns. As far as we know from evidence, you are looking at, even after over 150 years after she's died, she is still the largest female landholder ever in all 6 New England states. Way to go, Duchess. That was her nickname given to her by her young cousin Hawthorne. All right, let's take a look over here, folks. All right, so over here, guys, we've got a closet. You can come back in, guys. Yeah, come on back in. Over here, guys, we got a closet. It's to store firewood. It's got a couple of ovens. What is very special, now let's talk about a movie in 1940. They made the movie, The House of the Seven Gables, starring from good old St. Louis, Missouri. Clifford Pynchon is played by Vincent Price in the 1940 movie. Let's talk about a great pop icon of Wonder Woman. So one of the earliest comic books made in America, Comic Cavalcade #1, came out in December 1942. Wonder Woman and her friends are fighting the Nazis in the house with her friend in the red pressing the secret lever. Again, isn't that clever? Right? Now, in a moment, we're going to go through the door. Now, to talk about what may have been behind this exact location. About 20 years before we opened as a museum, in the year 1890. So, we have a family living in the home called the Uptons by the 1890s. So, our third and final family. And the chimney of this house, which had stood for over 200 years from the Turners, was destroyed in 1890. It was falling apart. This is where it gets interesting. When the Uptons found, in 1890, destroyed the chimney, they found, unbeknownst to them, a staircase in the building. a second staircase. And we have artifacts that are in our archives from the 1600s. So built by the Turners or somebody. What it was used for technically is a mystery. As an educated guess, we think probably used by at least servants and slaves. Maybe smuggling, maybe hiding out during the witch trials. So if you, Mr. Hawthorne, came to visit your rich cousin Susanna, you probably saw the original second staircase and go, wait a minute, maybe I'll create a secret one for the book to show how Clifford moves around. So this was created for the museum as a replica of the original one over here. All right, you can now resume taking your pictures. That is the south gable down there, and there's a bedroom with a fireplace. That actually goes to the roof. It's called a scuttle. And the north gable has another bedroom and a fireplace. So let's talk about the home because it was built over 9 years.
What's a gable?
Talk about that right now. All will be revealed, my friend. These are gables. Gables are part of the roofing structure and a little bit of the wall. So they usually have windows too, and they're always triangular, pretty wide. So it's certainly not Victorian or gambrel. So what gables are, it's like the peak of the structure. That is either A, on the roof line, called the ridge cap. So if you're a big one, you're called an end gable. East End boys and West End girls. So that's a gable too. But you can also be a gable if you look at the definition in an architecture dictionary, if the peak of the structure ties in on the roof line. So these are ends, 1 and 2, and this is number 3. This is disqualified. See how it looks like a gable, but it's on the roofing. It's lower. It's not on the roof line. So it's a house of 3 gables until it's 4 gables. Behind you, sir, the north gable is built 2 years later. And then the lean-to that we all came in today. And then the south gable, this has 3 of them. This was built in 1677. 5, 6, 7 gables, 17 rooms, 3 chimneys, 9 fireplaces, full basement cellar, just under 8,000 TSF, total square footage. And they have 5 other homes. So pretty impressive. We are right here. We are in the oldest surviving timber frame mansion in all of New England, not most of continental North America. Pretty good for about 125 years. Then gables were destroyed and the dormer, plus the north gable and lean-to. So when Susanna Ingersoll, remember the cousin of Hawthorne, the lady in the portrait, she's about 10 years old. Her father removes the gables. He didn't like the style, so it's kind of like HGTV. I'm rich, you're not. I'm going to change around my house. And then this was destroyed because it was falling apart. So it went from 7 gables to 3 gables. This is what Hawthorne saw with the naked eye. He never saw 7. And this is what Emerton bought in 1908. The gentleman who renovated the Paul Revere house in Boston, Joseph Chandler, he was brought in 1909. He put the missing ones back on. All right. Now, I want you to raise your hands if you came here to learn about insulation. I know you're excited. This is one of the rarest types of architecture in American history. It's called nogging. It's a fireproof brick fill in the exterior walls of the mansion. Every wall has nogging. Now, that's not common. This is actually a common practice to use this. This is real horsehair plaster. Yeah, this is not the tail of a fox or whatever that is on the end of your pocketbook. So yes, the great horsehair. All right, anyone have any questions for me? And don't forget, you guys can take photographs today, folks. To talk more about John Turner II. 1708. I'm a colonel in the militia, and I'm part of Queen Anne's War. We're sent up to New Hampshire to kill and take all the land and resources from the indigenous, known as the Merrimack, and their alliance with the French. So we do that very efficiently. We collect scalps. Yes, I know it's not good. It's okay, we just call them bounties and trophies. But in reality, they are scalps of men, women, and children that may have been dangling on a rope right in front of us to look at. Oh, but we're not done. We're sent up to southern Maine to wipe out the Penobscot, the Abenaki. And again, they're aligned to those darn Catholic Papists that are French. Canadians, we don't like them either. So we take them all on. But to imagine scalps of people dangling on a rope to show off right in front of us. Welcome to the accounting room. Oh, it gets worse. Let's talk about the Salem witch trials. Chapter 1. My name is Colonel Pynchon, probably based off Colonel Turner, and I live right over there. But it's a good time to do what I call bad monopoly, which means I want all of your land. Oh, you can't sit on their land.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's a safety issue. Sorry, I have a daughter, I see everything. I don't miss. So ladies and gentlemen, I want all of your land, and there's a way to get it, because I control the power. You must all be witches. Remember, men and women are witches. The Anglo-Saxon language is gender neutral. However, there's one difference in name. For a man is a witch. You know, like you, sir, in the beard. But if you run a coven, you're called a wizard. Not a warlock. I'm not Scottish. I'm an English witch. People always get the wrong answer. They go, you're a warlock. I go, no, I'm not Scottish. I'm an English witch. I'm a witch or a wizard. And you, Matthew Mall, witch wizard must die. Because I want your land and I get what I want. So when you hang from the gallows and executed, you curse me from the gallows, Matthew Mall. God will give you blood to drink, Colonel Pynchon. Whatever. I don't really care. So I destroy your house. I have my secret maps of the state of Maine. I'll throw a big old party for all of you. And then you find me dead in my chair. I've choked up on blood and the maps have disappeared. Welcome to American Gothic. So anyway, have any questions about the actual historical accounting room? It's a beautiful space. All right, well, let's go talk about social work. One big room just for the parents, right? Maybe some of the kids. They have a lot of kids. Miss Emerton buys it, and that's, by the way, Miss Emerton. So she buys it in 1908, puts up a dividing wall, and then a hallway. Just don't do that with your leg, ma'am, unless you need to do that medically. Thanks. Yeah, I don't want you to trip and hit back on the mantle. It's happened, unfortunately. So, ladies and gentlemen, it becomes 2 bedrooms. One social worker or settlement worker lives here. One would have lived over here. And we actually have a total of 12 women over 60 years live in the house. Amelia Earhart, settlement worker in Boston. Eleanor Roosevelt, settlement worker in New York. This is Helen. She is one of our social workers, and she is our assistant director for 30 years, 1935 to 1965. Now, I'm also very excited. If no one has ever seen one of these relics, that's called the telephone. 14. Started at Blubber Hollow, went down to near Salem State University. Luckily, it stopped on Union Street, where Hawthorne's birthplace was located. It never touched us. Yeah. Pretty lucky. The new master bedroom, not bad for 347 years. For the first 50 years, it looked like the kitchen and in the wall. So that's the first 50 years of the mansion's architecture. This is the Georgian that we saw in the dining room and will conclude in the parlor. So this has been here for about 300 years. They have a bathroom. Of course, there's no plumbing, so you either go in an outhouse or just dump it out the window. Yeah, good time. It's called the water closet. Let's not mince words. Water refers to urine. So when you go to a fancy restaurant, they go, oh, madame, the WC is right over there. Yeah, that's just a freaking bathroom. Because we're not in a bedroom that's so pedestrian. This is the great chamber pots. Chain for me. Susanna had 3 Irish maids and a French-Canadian butler, you know, like we all do. So, good time for her. I'll tell you who it's a very bad time for. Enslaved Africans. Africa, Caribbean, North America. It is ugly business. We have 5 enslaved people, and we have 3 of them listed on this document. It's all there. Yeah, pretty impressive. No. This is, now there is one like this. We have about 20 layers of other paper and paint below this. There's at least 15 layers of other color below this one. So there is a house north of Salem, which you can visit. It's called the Whipple in Ipswich. And they have a little piece in one of their closets. That's original because this design man is over 300 years old. It's French, it's paper, it's cut, it's called block stamp, and it's done on a diagonal. So we have something very similar under about 20 layers at the Georgian time. So we have something very similar to this. But the paper itself right now is new because 2 things happen. It either disintegrates or you paint over it. So this is new, it's only 50 years old. But it's a replica. Well, it's one of the colors of at least 20 colors in 20 layers. So this is what it looks like around 1725. Yeah, this is made with white lead, the green, and copper oxide. We call it verdigris. But again, just one of the colors and one of the layers. We may change it again because there's been so many layers over the centuries of time. The room is set up for arts and culture from the 1840s when the Duchess is at the height of her power and her real estate. So Hawthorne called his cousin the Duchess. Imagine her sitting there. The tea set is about 200 years old, called lusterware. Hawthorne, at 36, the original portrait is inside the Peabody Essex Museum. He called himself the Emperor. And we're not sure whether it's either Hawthorne's sister or his secret fiance turned wife is called the Empress. And that's Sophia Amelia Peabody, one of America's first female artists. In fact, Sophia Amelia Peabody did that portrait. It's called Flight into Egypt. It's about 200 years old. So she did one of many paintings to make ends meet for the family. You know, people don't realize when Hawthorne's writing the Scarlet Letter, he's married with 2 kids, fired from his job, not because of skill, but political reasons. So he's doing daddy daycare and he's unemployed. Who do you think's the breadwinner? The missus. So good times. Why not, right? All right, let's show you the liquor cabinet. So folks, please, everyone go forward.
Ну это все подошло к концу. Всем большое спасибо за просмотр. Не забывайте подписаться на канал, чтобы не пропускать интересные видео, которые выходят каждый день. Также по ссылочке в описании будет мой инстаграм, где ежедневные какие-то истории, шорты, посты, рилсы на русском и английском языках. Прочекайте, вам понравится. И напоминаю, что это первая часть моего путешествия 2-го дня в город Селем, штат Массачусетс. Дальше будет 2-я и 3-я части, которые тоже будут интересные и уже полностью на русском языке, так что вам не придется думать над каким-либо переводом. Всем еще раз большое спасибо за просмотр. Увидимся с вами, ребята, уже завтра. И всем пока-пока.